Hello everyone, welcome to SmartMe Tutorials. Today we are going to learn how to use an HTML CSS template to build the user interface of our Spring Boot application. What is an HTML template? An HTML template, it's a collection of CSS, JavaScript, and HTML files that we can reuse without having to build from scratch. Let's say you want to build a web application, a portfolio application, and you don't want to start by first creating the UI from scratch. You don't want to do all of that from scratch. So they are actually reusable templates that you can download and reuse in your application. So today, that's what we are going to be doing. We will download an HTML template. We will configure it and make use of it in a Spring Boot application. All right. So the good thing about it is that these templates, there are quite a number of them that are on the internet and that are free for us to use. So let's start by searching. You can start by searching on the internet, say free Bootstrap template. So you can see Bootstrap is a CSS framework, right? A front-end framework that is very common to use. So we are going to just start with that. So we can see there are quite a number of them where we can get, templates. So I'm going to specifically go to Theme Fisher. It's a very, very nice one that they have in there that are free to use. You can see it's free. We can actually download them. The good thing is you can even explore on the UI itself while you are um, while you are browsing. You can preview on the web, and so we are going to look for blog because we want to build a simple blog application in this tutorial. So I'm going to look at Reporter Bootstrap. It's looking nice, um, you know. Um, so you can, most of the free template site will give you a live preview, so you can preview it before you download. You can see now this is how the template is going to look like if we use it to build, say, our personal blog site. This is how it's going to look like in real life. You can see we have the page, different pages that we can reuse, right? There's even uh, the plugin, the comments plugin, that we can the discourse comments plugin that we can reuse in there. So for me, I think this is okay. So we are going to go back. Let's navigate back to the main template. Okay, yeah, we just have to click on it. It opened a new tab. So, and then we're going to click on download, right? So when you download it, of course, we are here for free, for the free version. So we download for free. When you click on the download button, you can see already it's downloading. It has actually downloaded on my system, right? So what I'm going to do is to open it up, the downloaded file, um, in my application. All right, so what I've done is to open the application in Sublime Text, right? The downloaded folder. I just downloaded it as a zip, unpack it, and then open it up in Sublime Text. So if we open up the application in Sublime Text, we can quickly look at it. We can open the files, right? So you can see the way it's organized, very neat and nice. The source is for this particular template. The source is the raw files that have not been built. So we're just going to leave that as is. But the theme folder is where the actual template is located, right? Where the finished template is located. So we can see here, we have the index file, index.html file, and then we have the CSS, the styles file. We also have the images that are being used. We have the JavaScript, the custom JavaScript, right? So let's open it in our application in the browser and see how it looks like. So we can actually open this in our browser, and there we go. So we can see this is also browsing it from the local repository, so we can see how the application looks like, right? So the goal, you can click on it, you can still see we have all the images and everything. And there you go. So we have our template that we want to use. This is going to make it is going to make our application development to be a lot faster. I imagine having to start creating all this beautiful CSS by yourself, that will take a lot of time. But because we want to deliver value quickly, so we can always use this. The next thing we are going to do is to create a Spring Boot application um, in which we are going to use this template. So for that, I'm going to use start.spring.io to generate the Spring Boot application. We are going to use Maven Java 21 version, and then we are going to use Spring Boot 3.3, 3.3.3, interested version. So for the group name, we're going to use SmartMe Spring Boot. Then for the artifacts, we are going to use HTML. We're just going to use HTML UI. For the name, we can add an icon there. So demo for the description, we can just say, then for Spring Boot, HTML, CSS, template. And that's it. So for dependencies, we are going to come here to add dependencies. Obviously, we need Spring Web. We're also going to add Actuator for debugging purposes. We're also going to add Freemarker. So Freemarker is the template engine. We'll get to that later. So once I'm done selecting all the dependencies I want, so you can just click on generate. It will also download the application on my local machine. And now I can go and open it up in my IDE. So in this case, I'm just going to open it up in IntelliJ, who happens to be my favorite IDE. So I've opened up the application in IntelliJ, and then just going to, I haven't done anything to read. So what do we have? So it comes with the package, the main application has already been created for us. And then if you look at the resources directory, the static folder is there, the template folder is there, the application properties is there, and then there's even a test folder that has been created for us already, alongside the pom.xml file. If you look at the POM, you see that it contains all the dependencies that we want, right, that we have specified, like the web, Freemarker, and the actuator, and of course, it automatically had a test for us. So let's just run the application. We'll start it. And yes, you can see we've confirmed that the application starts as is. So the first thing we are going to do is I'm going to just stop that for a minute. I'm going to create another package called controllers, right? And then in the controllers, I'm going to create an index controller, which we serve as the landing page, right? This controller class will be the one that serves the landing page that I want to build. So I'm going to annotate this with @controller, and then here I can come here and say public string index, right? And then I can return hello world, right? This hello world is not the name of the template, so we're going to just do @get mapping and then put the /. So when you visit the UI, when we are going to see that very soon, once you visit the UI on the web, you are going to see that this is what the path. If you visit this path, you are going to see this text hello world. Just to be sure, we are going to add @response body. We are going to add @response body to make sure that this text gets returned as is. So quickly, we start the application again. All right, now that the application is running, if you notice in the log file, you can see that it says it started on port 8080. This is the default port when you are starting a new Spring Boot application, and we are going to work with that without changing it. So let's go to the UI and see how this works. So back on the UI, you can come here, go to localhost 8080, and boom, there you go. We have the hello world text right in there on the UI. All right, but so what we want to do now that we have the application, so what we want to do is to have, this is the front page, this is the index page of the template that we want to use. So what the next step is for us to make use of this index page in our applications, right? In our Spring Boot application that we just created. So let's go back to the code base and see a couple of things. So in the code base, we notice that there are two important, I'm just going to minimize this. There are two important directories that was created for us here. So the templates let me start with the static. The static directory is where all our CSS, JavaScript, all the static files, images, this is the folder where we are going to put all of them. It is conventional that we put all of them, right? Some people prefer to name it static, but for us, we are going to rename it to public so that it resembles, for people that are coming from other, programming background, maybe from PHP and all of that, um, it becomes a lot easier, for them to that. So we are going to relate. So we rename this to public, right? We refactor that. And then in the template is where we are going to place our um, HTML files, right? Remember, we are working on a monolith, right? So we're going to place our HTML files in the templates directory. And we organize it in a nice way. So we're going to create a new directory here, call it front, just to indicate that this is the front page of our application, right? So in the front page, we are going to create a new file called index.phtlh. So the FTLH, remember we added um, uh, Freemarker Template Engine. So the FTLH is the file extension for Freemarker template in a Spring Boot application. It is configurable, but we are just going to work with the default at this point. All right. Then the next thing now is for us to go and copy our the raw file that we have in the in the template. Remember, we have this index.html file, right? So for now, we're just going to copy everything. I'm just going to Control A, Control C, and then I'll go back to the code base, right? We'll go back to the code base, and then we paste the files in there. So this is pretty much the same, the same thing that we have here, right? So for us to see this now in our application, we are going to modify the, just close this. We are going to modify um, the index page, the index controller. So we're going to do front slash, remember we call it index. We're just going to stop there. So there is no need to add .ftlh because Spring Boot already knows how to resolve that. And we're going to remove this response body. And now you can even see that IntelliJ has underlined this. And then even if you click on it, it can open. That shows us that everything, quickly going to remove the unused. Everything is in alignment, right? So we reload the page, we restart the application. And yes, it started successfully. Now we are going to go to the web, right? And then we navigate again. Remember, we have this 8080, our previous hello world, we reload, and boom. So why are we missing this? Why are we having this type of display view? It means that we are yet to place and locate the CSS files in the right directory. So what we're going to do is go back to the code base. All right. Now that we are in the code base, we are going to copy all the all the static files, right? If you look at let's quickly go back to Sublime again. If you look at Sublime here, you see that we have the CSS, we have the images, we have the JavaScript, and then we have the plugins. So I'm going to copy all these 1, 2, 3, 4 directories, right? We're going to copy all of them and then copy them in the, if you go to the application, we're going to paste them in the public directory here, right? So let's do that quickly. Just going to open this in Finder, and then I'm going to use that to populate. Now, if I look at this, you can see we have all the files in here, right? And everything in place. So we just need to restart the application, and then we go back to the UI, and then we reload. And there we go. There we go. You can see all of the files have been located, and you can see it's displaying exactly as we have it in the template in here. Right, this is the template page. Always use the URL, and then we are able on our page we're able to achieve this, right? So now that we have this, so let's just add one more page. You can see here in the templates we have another page for single page, right? You can see we have another page for single page. So then we are going to look at that. Let's go create that as well. So going back to the code base, here we are going to create just the same way. I will create a new file. I will call it post.fclh, right? And then I will paste in it. I will open the, now I'm going to go copy. If you look at this, this page, the single article page is responsible for this is in this file, this article.html file. So I'll copy everything as it is, and then go back to the code base, to IntelliJ and paste, right? So there we go. We have this here. Then the next thing we are going to do is to create a controller. So we're going to create a post controller, right? And then we are going to annotate it as a controller, um, and then we will do public string, can call it single poster. So we are going to return again front slash what now slash post, and that's it. So we annotate this with at get mapping again, and then we are going to give it the URL post, not that. So we have this, now that we have this, so we are going to reload, restart the application, and then if we go back to the browser, right, and we come to the UI, and we come to co-hosts, and then we do slash post, and boom, there you go. You can see we have the UI, the single article page as well, right in our application, right, all of it just like we have it in the template in here. So you can see that our application is almost set, then we can start to adjust, right? But then if we go back to the application, right, let's go back to the application for a minute. If we go back to the code base, right, and then we can see if we open the index file, and we open the post file, we will see that they have common elements, right? For example, they both start with, the opening standard HTML tag. They have the HTML is the same, the head content is the same, even the body section. No? The body section, the navigation is the same, right? And then we have the main that now contain the main body, right? And then we have the footer is also the same, right? And of course, the script is the same, at least for this purpose at this point. So what we are going to do is to break them down into reusable components. Now, at this point is where we are really, developing and taking advantage of the Freemarker template, right? So what is a Freemarker template, by the way? Freemarker template is a template engine. And what does a template engine do? A template engine in an MVC context helps you to prepare the UI that you are seeing, right? So the controller will prepare and the controller, the service will prepare the data that needs to be displayed on the UI, and then the template engine is going to take that data and format it properly so that it's it's visible, and then it can be seen on the web browser in a beautiful way, right? So then coming back to our template, so what can we do? We can extrapolate the common path into a layout, right? So let's just do it. So I'm going to create a new directory. I'm going to create it in the template folder. I will call it layout. Okay. So in the layout, I will create a new file called um, front. Let's just call it front, right? .ftlh again, right? As we have it, just like the other ones, right? So what I will do with the front is that I will copy the index here and just paste it, right? so that I can, I can now identify the common path, right? So, but before we can convert it into a template, we have to define it as a macro, right? This is a Freemarker template terminology now. So in the post description, you're going to see a link to the Freemarker documentation where you can learn more, right? So I will define a directive, and then I will say a macro directive, right? So you can say it's closed. So I will give it a name. I will say front, right? And then I will copy the close tag. I'll come and paste it at the end, right? So everything in this section now is in the front macro, right? So once we've done that, the next thing we are going to do is to remove the different components, right? The ones that are common, we will keep them. The ones that are not, we will remove them. So the X section is common. Even the body section, the navigation is common. So one trick. Huh? So how do you identify where this belongs to? So for example, if you go back to the UI, right? We can inspect, right? So you can use your inspect element to inspect, and then you can use that to find out. For example, you can see this is header class navigation, right? This is the body, this is the edge section, right? This is the header class navigation. Even in the main section, right, you can already see the main is also even subdivided into sections, right? So you can see there is a main element, and then in that main element there is a section element. Even that section element also now have other elements. This is the way you can use to know what section is repeating, what is not repeating, right? Very quickly. So we'll go back to the to IntelliJ, to the code base now, right? And then we have the head section that is common. In the body, we have the navigation, and that is common as well. We just fold that, collapse that. And then in this body, we have the main, and then we have the section, and we have the footer. So what we are going to do is we are going to remove this, this section, right? And what we will do is we had a very special directive uh, for that is related to Freemarker template. We say nested, right? So what the nested directive will do is that anywhere we are using this um, layout, this front layout in every page, all those other the body of that layout will be inserted into this. This is why we're having a video tutorial. So let's just demonstrate quickly. So if you look at we'll come to the index. Let's convert the index first. So on the index page, we are going to first include the the layout file, right? So how do we do that? In Freemarker, you use include directive, and then we are going to give the direction to the. So we have dot dot, because remember, see, we are in the front. This index.ftlh is in the front folder, right? And the layout we want to reference is in the layouts folder. So what we're going to do is navigate out of the front, right? Now we are in the template, right? Then we can now say /layout. As you can see, the ID is even suggesting it for us. And then we can now reference front.ftlh, right? Please take note that in this one that we are including the complete extension, file extension as well, right? So once we do that, right, then remember in the front.ftlh, what we did is define a macro named front, right? So we'll come here, we say at front, right? And then boom, that's it. So this is at front, right? So with at front already there, we are going to close it. So I'll just navigate to the bottom of the page to close it. Now, the next thing is for us to remove the components that we have already identified, that is already present in the layout file. So we remove the head, we remove the tags, right? even the body is already there, the navigation is here. We are going to remove that. We'll remove the body as well. We remove the body as well. And then in the main, remember, we even have the main already defined. We go to the front here, we have the main defined. So we will remove the main tags. And then we just bring this closer. The footer is already there. All of these other ones are already there. So we remove it. So you can see we are left with only section, right? So in essence, what Freemarker will do is Freemarker will start, because this is the macro, right? Freemarker will start with this, inject the content in that is between these tags, this content between these tags, inject it uh, into this place that we have said nested, right? Once it injects it into it, and then it will now make a whole page, right? So with this way, we don't have to repeat all of these sections, right? We don't have to repeat them in every single page we want to create. So that's how to do it. So let's quickly test our application. We will reload. And if everything goes well as planned, when we refresh, remember we've only updated the index. So when we refresh this page, let me just close this. When we refresh this page, you can see that everything still works as expected, right? And remember, on the index page, it's having everything. It's having the navigation, it's having the sidebars, it's having the footers, right? Whereas if you look at the code base, if someone that is just looking at it from the code base, they will only, and they open this index, the only thing they'll be seeing is the section, right? That's the power of using a template. It makes the component to be reusable. Let's repeat the same thing for post. Remember the steps. We are first going to add include. We are going to include it, right? And then we do the dots to come out of the front directory. Then we do layout, and then we do front.ftlh. Then we define the macro, which is front, right? Close it. Come to the bottom here, and then we remove all the components we don't need, right? Remove the head section. We remove the body all the way. We remove the footer all the way to this place. We remove the main tags as well. And then we will bring, and just leave some white space, leave some white space. So remember that we added, when we are generating the project, we added Spring Boot Actuator. So with Spring Boot Actuator, you really don't have to reload every component. We can just simply do, on my command is Control F9. On my Mac is command function F9, right? With command function F9 to reload the resources. So we can go back to the UI. So if you go to the UI and we navigate to the post as well, you can see now everything is working as expected, right? It's still working as expected. So that's the basic of how to use, how to convert a template, how to use a template in a Spring Boot application, right? So the next thing, finally, one thing I would like us to look at before we end the tutorial today is let's go back to the code base quickly. Right. So, and then in the layout. So here, Freemarker also has another concept that is called partials, right? Partials are components that you can insert into any page, right? They are components that you can insert, you can include them in any page. Imagine you are building an admin dashboard, right? And you want the user to submit a form, right? Once the user submit the form, you do validation, right? So for example, the user did not provide the name and you want to return an error to the page, right? That error component, you're going to be reusing it in a lot of places, right? So you can make that to be a partial. However, in this case, we are going to get to that in another tutorial, but in this case, we are going to just convert the footer to a partial so that we can demonstrate that concept rather. So we create a new folder here we call partials. Why are we creating these folders like that? It helps you in organizing and keeping your code base very clean. Huh? So we create a new folder, we call it footer.ftlh, right? And then we go back to the front. We're going to move all of that into this place, right? All of that, this main section, we move it. And then we come to the front and then we include it, just as we have been including the the other sections, right? We include it. Remember the include. Say this time around, we are going to navigate out again, and then we'll go to partials, and then we'll go to footer, right? So with this, if we reload the application and and go to the UI and we just reload the page, the footer is still there, right? So that's the concept that we can have with partials, right? So it helps us to reuse, right? So imagine if we don't want the footer to be on the index, for example, we can remove it from the main template and just pull it in there, right? But we're not going to do that today. One final one that I want us to look at quickly. Let's say we can define, for example, the title. If you look at our main layout file, the title is always this, right? So let's say I want to change the title to Smart Me, and I want to, depending on the page, if I'm looking at the index page, I want it to be indexed. If I'm looking at the a single article page, I even want to be the title of the article, right? So for us to achieve this, we can do this by defining a variable here. We will call the variable title. It's called title, and then we are going to give it a default value of empty string. So what that means with that, I can now come here, say smart me, and then do this title, right? So if I go back to the index page, right, on the front macro, I can provide a valid title. I can say title equals to here home page. And just say home, right? If I come to the post, I can say title here will be, article. All right. So with that, we are able to, that's another advantage of using a layout, right? So with that, we're able to define the different titles that we can want depending on whatever page we are showing. Huh? So I'm just going to reload this application, and then we can go to the UI, and then we can reload the page. So if we reload this page, now you can see it's Smart Me article, right? And if we go to the home page, you can see it's Smart Me O, right? You can see it here, Smart Me O. All right. That's it for today. So in this video, we have seen how to convert and use an existing HTML template in a Spring Boot application. And this is just the beginning. In coming videos, we are going to look at how to add dynamic data to the UI. For example, we are going to look at how to replace all of this with actual posts from the database, right? Using Freemarker template as well, right? The link to the complete source code is available in the video description. And of course, or in the comment section, depending on where you are looking at. Please like this video, share with your friends. It will go a long way, right, in supporting this channel. And don't forget, remember to subscribe to the channel and click on the notification icon so that you can get notified when we release the next one. Thank you.